Morning, guys. Hey, just like I said, we're going to review our math from yesterday. So if you do not have your paper and you worked on yesterday, please grab it now and pause the video. Okay, I'm gonna go through the steps. I'm going to do the first one with the study time. Okay, and then um, I want you to go back to your answer for the cups and see if you can revise your answer. Okay, just go through that. So I'm going to go through this number, but I'm going to erase my face so that I will have more space to work with. Okay, so I'm going to X that out. Go grab your paper if you don't have it, and please follow along. Just bear with me. Okay. Okay. So here we go. So my problem is it's asking me the frequency table represents fractions of an hour. Sonja studied each evening over the last 12 days. Represent this data in a line plot. So this is my frequency table. This is the data. Okay, this is exactly the same as what we did yesterday. This is the data, and this is the data they gave you. So it's really, really awesome that they gave you the data because all you have to do is to plot it. So here, this is the study time in terms of hours. So how many times did 1/4 occur? Okay. How many times did Sonja study 1/4 of an hour? So I'm going to go to my um, frequency table and count how many times she studied 1/4 of an hour. So I have one, I have two, I have three, and I have four. So she studied 4 times. Okay. So I'm going to put 4 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what about 2/4 of an hour or 1/2 of an hour? So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So she studied also 4 times. Now, you know that 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2, right? So you use 2/4 because it's easier to add if you have the same denominator. Remember, you cannot add a fraction without having the same denominator. So the denominator has to be common, right? So so let's go to 3/4. How many times she study 3/4 of an hour? So 1, 2, 3. So she studied 3 times. And then 1 hour, she only studied 1 time. So here's my line plot. I already plotted this whole information in. So now it's easier to move forward. So the question down here says, which time interval was least frequent as the study time for Sonja? So least frequent meaning which time interval did she study less? Okay. So obviously, I'm going to look at my line plot, which has the least amount of excess. So obviously, I can see that it is this because there's only 1x. So this is the least frequent. So let's just say on Saturday, in the span of 2 weeks, on one Saturday, that was the only time that she studied for an hour. So least frequent. Okay, so obviously it would be 1 hour, and it says to explain. So you can say something like, um, there is only 1x above the marking of the line plot. So that's how I know that that's the least frequent. Okay, not the least amount, the least frequent. Okay, so because there is only 1x above the line plot, okay? Because there's only 1x above the line plot. Okay, so that's my explanation. So remember, least frequent is the least amount of time that she did it, okay? So now let's go to number 5. So the question here is, what is the difference in the total time spent during the 3/4 hour time interval and the 1/2 hour interval? All right, so it's just asking me what's the difference between 3/4 of an hour and 1/2 of an hour. Okay, so here comes here's why it's important that you have 2/4. Okay, because if I just did, okay, what's the difference between 3/4 minus 1/2? I cannot just subtract because this is not the same denominator. So I'm going to have, okay, if they didn't give you the answer of 2/4, you're going to have to think to yourself, how can I have the same fraction so that I can subtract, right? So how can my 2 go into 4? So I'm going to multiply 2 times 2. What I'm going to do to the top, I'm going to do to the bottom. So that would be 2/4. Okay. But I didn't need to take that extra step because they already gave me the answer here. So I just wanted to show you how you can do that. All right. So I'm going to erase that. Okay. So I'm going to choose the 2/4 instead of the 1/2. Okay, so the difference is 1/4 of an hour. So that's my number 5 answer. So the difference between 3/4 time interval and 1/2 hour interval is 1/4 of an hour. So here's the next question, which will take most of our time. Okay. Mm, Okay, so I need you to take it step by step. When you are solving a word problem, you cannot rush through it, guys. You really have to pause and understand. Remember, understand, plan, solve, and then um, check. Okay, so here we go. So, what is the total amount spent studying over the last 12 days? So, here's the data that I got. So, I'm going to have to add all of this in order to get the total amount because it's asking for the total amount over 12 days. So, I have to add this. So, I'm going to do it step by step. Okay, so 1/4 of an hour. So, I know some of you can do that in your head, but I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. All right. So 1/4 of an hour, 4 times. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. So if I add that, that would be 4/4 or 1. So 4 times studying 1/4 of an hour would be the total amount would be a total of 1 hour if you studied what 1/4 of an hour 4 times. Okay, so here's the next one, 2/4. Okay, how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can add or I can multiply, right? But I'm just gonna do adding. 2/4, 2/4, 2/4, 2/4 is 8/4. So improper fraction, so I have to divide that. So 8, how many times can 4 go into 8? It's 2 or 2. All right. So what if I decided to add my 1/2s? Will I get 2 also? Yes, you will. So I'm going to show you real quick. 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 is 4/2. If I divide that, I will still get the same answer. So see what equivalent fraction is? You are going to get the same answer. So for this, when I added 4 times, is equivalent to 2 hours. Okay. Now I'm down to 3/4. So I have to add this 3 times. 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 is 9/4. Then I'm going to have to divide that because this is an improper fraction. Follow here. 9 divided by 4, 2, 8, 1, 1/4. So the total amount here is 2 hours and 1/4. So I'm going to put that here, 2 hours and 1/4 hours. And then here's my 1 hour. All right, so I'm done figuring out the total amounts per time interval. So I'm going to erase this, okay? I'm going to pause it though. Okay, so now I added my answers, right? So I'm going to add this, the whole amount, so that I will get the total amount of time she studied. So 1 hour plus 2 hours plus 2 and 1/4 hours plus 1 hour. So this is a mixed number. So remember, I'm going to add my wholes first. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, don't forget my fraction here, 6. So 6 and 1/4 hours is my total amount that I got for Sonja in a span of 2 weeks. So in a total of 2 weeks, she studied 6 hours and 1/4. Okay, 6 and 1/4 hour. Now that's not where my problem ends. So my problem is asking me, what is that in minutes? So obviously, I have this answer first because that's the data that they gave me. They gave me information in hours. So now I'm going to convert it into minutes. So we know from our previous lesson that 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes. So now I'm going to, so sorry, 1 hour. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply so I can convert that to minutes. So if I have 6 hours and 6 hours is equivalent to 60 minutes. So how many minutes now is 6 hours? So 6 times 6 is 36. I'm going to add my 0. Remember that trick when we multiply across 0. So 360 minutes. But I cannot forget my 1/4 because I still have that. So I have to convert 1/4 into minutes. Now, I think this is where most of you got tripped up. Okay. So now here is where you're going to have to think about it. So here we go. So I know, okay, so let's say I'm going to draw it so it will be easier for you to picture. All right, if this is my clock, I know that 1 hour is equivalent to 60. So let's say this is my clock. And since I'm converting it into minutes, I'm going to put 60 for 60 minutes. Okay, so and it's asking me what is 1/4 of 60 minutes. Okay, so if I were to divide my clock 4 times, then I need to know what is the value of one slice here, of one portion of my clock, because it's asking me 1 out of the 4. Okay, so I'm going to get my whole, which is 60, and I'm going to divide it into 4 times, so I will know what one portion is. So 60 divided by 4, how many times can 4 go into 6? That would be 1 time. 1 times 4 is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. Carry down my 0. So 20. So how many times can 4 go into 20? 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. So there you go. So 1/4 of an hour is 15 minutes. So now I can add my 360 minutes and my 15 minutes. So 5, 7, 375 minutes. So my final answer is she studied 6 and 1/4 hours. And if I turn that into minutes, it would be 375 minutes. Okay, so that's my answer. And I want you guys to go to the next one And I want you to do it on your own. Okay. Try to see and do it step by step. Okay. And then um, I will give you some to work with. Okay. So I hope that's clear for you. Okay.